And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bubba the Bat Flip, episode 132. Going to recap your Week 19 FAAB, give you a little strategy talk, and more. Coming at you on a Sunday night, so hope you guys enjoy the extra time to maybe get some moves for yourself taken care of this week. You can find myself on Twitter at BDintric, and my co-host always on Twitter at BatFlipCrazy. Toby, how we doing, man?
Doing well, Bubba. Definitely a eventful FAAB period for me. I was pretty aggressive on a couple players that other people weren't as aggressive on. So we were just talking before the show. I'm like wondering if I've missed something or, I hope I didn't blow it.
We'll see. We'll see.
That's pretty much it. That's the definition of this FAAB period for me.
It was weird for me too, because usually I'm putting like a couple bids in here and there, but like there was multiple leagues dropping. I was doing like overhauls of teams in certain spots, and dropping the Raisel Iglesiases and the Taylor Rogers again. These are 12 teams, maybe 15s. You hang on a little longer, but dropping all these guys was like, this is so painful. This really stings. Like this is where we're at, folks. Like it's part of the deal. But a lot of moves like that, a lot of Yadiel Hernandez's, Oscar Gonzalez bids, and other things that we'll talk about as we get into our recap of the week in FAAB and our picks in general. But before we get into that, with it being Sunday night and all, and people still have the ability to make some ad drops in their leagues potentially, advice from one of the NFBC's best over here in Toby. And kind of like at this point in the year, this week, like what were you kind of looking at for as you were doing your FAAB bids? Was there anything specific, like certain matchups that looked tasty to you, or what are you looking at?
Yeah, we'll see how the season goes in terms of one of the NFBC's best. I don't know about that. The direction my season is taking right now. I think for this week, I mean, it's really challenging for me. I'm less interested in pitchers. I think this was a unique week because it's the first week after the trade deadline. So we've started to see some situations kind of settle in a little bit, maybe some that aren't, like even Rowan Wick, who I know is the biggest like closer target, at least in 15 team leagues. Like we're kind of assuming that he's the closer because there's nobody else left in that bullpen, which, is I think probably accurate, but we're not really sure. So I think part of this week's strategy was a little bit different because it was trying to take a look at maybe some playing time pieces heading out of the trade deadline where, maybe some guys who weren't getting playing time are getting some now, or, or guys who we thought might get traded and may not have playing time or having some. So I think that was kind of first and foremost. And then I also think that there's some matchups based, but honestly, I think it's really challenging right now because, everybody who's left in the player pool waiver wire wise is generally like a platoon bat, or there's some sort of major question mark over their playing time. And so a lot of it is just kind of trying to guess or trying to be a little bit early in figuring out guys who maybe have more playing time than we were anticipating. And I think as I get through my FAAB pieces, well, and also this week is at least for my pitchers, is a pretty brutal week. Like a lot of the guys that I have a lot of, like Miles Mikolas, he's got at Colorado to start off. Then he's got Milwaukee. I have a lot of Brady Singer. I don't feel great about that Dodgers start, just because he struggles with control a little bit, and they've got such a good eye. So it's really like just depends on, what's going on with your team. I have some teams where I have 4 or 5 relievers who are going to be in this week because of, just not liking the matchups that I have and being pretty good in Ks and wins. So yeah.
And when it comes to matchups,
that's helpful.
Well, when it comes to matchups, there's like a few schedules you could look at where like they had 4 over the weekend because of a doubleheader, or they had 4 or 5 early in the week, but it wasn't like glaring differences like we've seen in previous weeks, as you mentioned. We have a little bit of Coors action this week. I think we have a weekend of Cincinnati, Great American Small Park, so you can kind of play that game if you wanted to, but it wasn't like juicy like you said. It was weird in my most competitive OC out of my 4. It's been really competitive all year between people actually just keep playing basically competitive wise. And when I was going my FAAB, I did my other 3 leagues first. There's all these guys available, similar guys in a lot of the leagues and everything, and I'm making my bids and whatnot. Then you get to this league, and I thought I was on a 15-teamer because, like, hitter-wise, it's like you said, it was a lot of, like, platoon dudes. It was rough. It was hard to justify, adding and dropping certain players. So I was putting when we do recaps, I have a lot of Andres Munoz pickups this week. That's where I was at, like, because
Not a bad pickup.
he's getting occasional saves, but his ratios, his strikeouts, like I'm like Peter Fairbanks, lots of that. Guys that might not be locked in the closer's role like we talked about before, but I'd be willing to put some wagers down that they probably finish with better season numbers, but from here forward than Rowan Wick does. I'd be willing to put some conversations in that department.
I don't even like Rowan Wick.
He was in my contingency bids, but like 6th or 7th in pitchers. Like, and we'll get to, because he's the highest in the OCs as well, the highest added player. It was just one of those, like, I get it. People need saves. It's what people are gonna get thirsty for. But at the same time, it's like we've talked about time and time again. These teams are bad. Like, they're bad. And Rowan Wick, we've seen good, we've seen bad from Rowan Wick. Is it good enough to be dumping the bank for? We'll see. Like, Felix Bautista went a lot of places last week. He finished everywhere else this week. Devin Williams was in one of my 4 OCs. He went for like $187. Don't blame anybody for that. Like, he's legit awesome. So you got that going for you. But in the end, it's I was more interested in getting like if there's Jonathan Hernandez still out there, if there was stuff along those lines, and compared to a Rowan Wick, or I mentioned Andres Munoz, Peter Fairbanks, stuff like that, or speculate. I talked about over the show. Go and give me like a Jose Quintana, who has an ugly Coors start this week, but has a great 2-step the following week. Go give me Justin Steele, who's been pitching great. Strikeout stuff's been on him. He's got some really nice matchups coming up. I'm going to start putting those kind of flyers out there and see where things go. And hopefully it works well. But like you said at the beginning there, hitting's getting tough to find these days. When Nicky Lopez looks attractive because he's stealing a lot of bags and playing every day, that gets tricky. When Yadiel Hernandez is back towards the top of your list of things to do, kind of tells you where things are going. So, we'll have to kind of wait and see. But hopefully you guys if you have any questions, let us know. If you're watching, jump in the chat. If not, send us a message and we can kind of help you out through there. But it's going to be a fun week for sure. All right. Let's recap. As usual, we use the OCs at drops for the week at the NFBC 12-team leagues. And as I mentioned, your top guy in 132 leagues, as high as $105. Rowan Wick checks the boxes there. Like you said, cupboard's bare in Chicago. So it looks like it's Wick's job to lose. He got a win on Saturday. Still, overall numbers aren't too great, but he has not given up a run since July 9th, if you want to try to look at the positive of this one.
Don't tell me that makes me feel like just one of those regression games is coming soon.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I picked him up in a couple places in 15 teamers where I needed saves. I lost as I recounted. I finally felt like I was in a pretty good shape with closers. I had like Sarah Anthony Dominguez on a few teams. I had Lou Trevino on a couple teams, and then it all went sideways for the trade deadline. So I added him. I don't think Rowan Wick's good. I think he's bad. I don't think I don't think there's a lot of. I think you're just hoping. We've got 2 months left in the season, 8 weeks. I think at this point you're just hoping that he gets lucky. He does have a 380 BABIP against, so he's got that going for him. But, you look back, his career whip is 1.45. He has been able to maintain a decent ERA at 3.77 over a strikeout per inning. But like the swinging strike isn't good for a reliever, 10.4% this year. K- walk is abysmal at 11.1% for a reliever. The O swing at 33.1% is at least a little bit nice because it keeps that walk rate from being in the stratosphere, but it normally is in the stratosphere for him. 10.4%, for his career. In zone contact isn't much better either. So there's not a lot going for him. He's probably not going to get a lot of opportunities on the Cubs, but if it's tight in saves and you need saves, you roll the dice with Rowan Wick.
As you'll be able to tell when we go through this, people are tight on saves because the top 4 added players are all potential closers, and 5 of the top 7 are 5 of the top 7 are potential closers. So people are searching high and low right now. And the next one up, we talked about him a lot last week, is Felix Bautista. Picked up in 105 leagues as high as 317. Like I said, we talked about him a ton last week. I added him everywhere I could last week. Any other thoughts on Felix Bautista? We covered pretty in depth last week.
No, I mean, he's really good. I look back at some leagues. It's like in one of my mains. I mean, hindsight's always 2020, but I grabbed Nick Martinez for like $6 because I thought he might get saves with Rogers going off. And Bautista went for $3, and it's just like a week later, it's just so different. But I think the thing with Bautista for me, I mean, he's been absolutely dominant. We talked about it last week. 27.2% K minus walk rate, 15% swinging strike, 77% in zone. I mean, he's absolutely dominant. The one thing that I'd say, gives me like a little bit of pause, is he does have a 222 BABIP and a 92% strand rate. So whether he can hold those or he can keep that up for the next 8 weeks, I'm not sure. But I would much rather have Felix Bautista than I would Rowan Wick for sure.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Baltimore's at least winning some baseball games these days, so that'll keep it interesting as well. But it's scary because I think his first outing after the trade did not go normal for Felix Bautista. He had a run or two, I think he blew a save, but he's been pretty darn good since then. So business as usual for Bautista. The next one's going to have some people stressing out quite a bit, but that's what you get when you add Ian Kennedy in 97 leagues, as high as $81. He picked up a couple saves and got the loss on Saturday, got a save on Friday, save earlier in the week. And then Mark Melancon got the save on Sunday night. And they've already come out and said that it's a committee. Like the manager flat said, we are in a committee. So Kennedy got a couple. Melancon got the one on Sunday. Just know you're going to play him, and there's going to be good weeks. There's going to be bad weeks. Probably more bad than good when it comes to Ian Kennedy. But we've done this dance with Ian Kennedy before, Toby.
We have, and I'm doing it again, Bubba.
Yep.
No holds barred. Just going for it. I picked him up in a few places. The one thing I'll say about him, he has been a lot better recently. He's on the season 3.22 ERA and 1.27 WHIP, which just isn't going to destroy you. 34 strikeouts in 36 innings, so not great there. Relatively low BABIP, but he's historically had a pretty low BABIP as well. 12.9% K minus walk, 9.2% swinging strike. So, again, nothing great. In the zone, he's right on league average. If you take a look at his last 15, I think they're better. At least I'm not sure I looked this week, but when I was looking at him last week, it was better. I'm just going to get it up here quickly. Yeah, it's a little bit better. In zone is slightly worse than league average. His K rate is up to 28.3%. And 9.4% over his last 15, 10.8% swinging strike. So he's doing fine. He's not spectacular. He's very Rowan Wickish.
He's better than Melancon.
He is better than Melancon. And I think Melancon got the save today, but Kennedy pitched the last 2 nights. And I think it's his job until he blows it. And, and it could be a committee, but they really haven't given other guys opportunities like Mantiply. He may have one save, but they really haven't gotten him in there, and he's really struggled in the second half. Melancon's just been god awful. And so, yeah, so I'm feeling pretty good about Kennedy there, at least having access to saves. And that's the thing with a lot of these pickups, honestly, is it's like you're just hoping that you're looking at your box score and it's bottom of the 8th and it flips over to the top of the 9th. And you're hoping that the pitcher that shows up, if you're watching the screen running out of the bullpen or on your little phone, you're just hoping it's that guy, right? That's what you're hoping, is to get the chance. And if you get the chance, you're just hoping you get lucky and they can string together a few good outings. That's all I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's just the way this part of the season works, is we're just hoping that it sticks, because most teams that traded away their closers are bad teams to begin with. So you're hoping for the best in those scenarios. So yeah, we couldn't all get Devin Williams. He wasn't available in very many leagues this week. So that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. The fourth closer in a row here, Jonathan Hernandez, added in 90 leagues, as high as $86. Talked about him a lot last week. I think you were in on him. He's got 2 saves so far. Strikeouts have picked up a bit in his last couple outings. It was good to see, because I mentioned last time out I was kind of nervous. He wasn't striking guys out, lots of ground balls. But, before he got hurt a couple of years ago, he had some good strikeout stuff, and it's maybe starting to come back as he's getting more comfortable on the mound. he looks to be the guy. Joe Barlow, who I was kind of stashing last week, I still have him stashed in a few leagues. His rehab keeps getting messed with, so I don't know what's going on there. He might be a drop for me next week everywhere else. But right now it's Jonathan Hernandez's world, and everyone else is finally living in it. What do you got on him?
Yeah, I mean, with Hernandez, I mean, like you mentioned, since last week, the numbers are a lot better. And again, I think last week we had 3 innings. We now have 7. But swinging strike is fantastic at 17.5%. K minus walk is 17.9%. I think the walk rate is really key for him. You know, right now it's pretty low. It's 10% on his career. The O swing is at 25%. So he's not getting guys to chase inside the zone. But I think the encouraging thing is, you know, or he's not getting guys to chase outside the zone. But the encouraging thing is his in zone contact is way down. It's down 5% from previous career levels, 77.4%. So if he can dominate in the zone, if he can get swings and misses in the zone, then I think that really can kind of change the narrative with him. The ground ball rate is still really high at 68.4%. The velo is right where it was previously. You know, he's throwing that sinker a lot. So yeah, it looks really good for him. And I mean, I think one of the nice things about a guy like him that throws with this level of velocity, which the other 2 guys that we talked about don't, is it gives you at least a little bit of cushion. You know, it gives you a little bit of room to not necessarily be perfect. The changeup has been really good for him, which he's throwing slightly more than previously. 23.5% swinging strike rate, 37.5% O swing, in zone contact at 50%. I mean, he's got 2 pitches that have close to 25% swinging strike. Whether or not that will continue to happen, I'm not sure. But if he can be like he was in 2020, where he had 2 pitches that were 20% or higher, you know, I still think he can be really, really good doing that. And I think they got pretty smart people in Texas too. We've seen some pitchers take, you know, a next step like John Gray there. So hopefully they can help him be the best version of himself.
I'm hoping so. I jumped back on board after we talked last week and watching I saw what I needed to see this week. What all the things I was concerned about last week, I saw. So he was definitely in bids higher than what Rowan Wick for me going forward. Still, there's concerns as Texas. How many games they're going to win? That's a concern. But it seems like it's the old adage sometimes. What the bad teams, when they win, it's going to be a close game probably. So you got that going for you because they're not that good. That was my old mantra for years with the Royals. It's like my last closer is always going to be the Royals closers. Give me him. They're still going to win like 50-6. And they're going to be close. Let's get shot and see what happens. So we'll see how it goes in Texas. The next player, I added in a lot of leagues. We'll get to that later. But Jose Quintana added in 88 leagues, as high as $57. I did not $57 on Quintana. Made his Cardinals debut this past week. 6 innings, 1 earned, 7 Ks against the Cubs. He's only given up 1 run in his last 3 starts. Very effective this year. 3.39 ERA, 3.73 xFIP. Even his strikeouts are better than I thought. 21.2%. K to walk's not ideal by any means, but Quintana's very serviceable, and especially going to the NL Central, pitching in St. Louis. And we talked about it before the show. He's got Colorado in Coors this week, which is not great. The following week is pretty nice, though. So I like Quintana. What do you got on him?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I've picked him up in a couple 15-teamers where he was on the wire over the last like month or 2. And I've been really pleased. Yeah, he got the ideal scenario, you know, where he goes to what has been a pitcher's park. He goes to the best infield defense in all of baseball with the Cardinals. You know, he doesn't have a huge ground ball rate at 45%, but slightly above league average. So that'll help him a lot. And he also gets to play against the NL Central. I mean, the NL Central is garbage right now. I mean, you got the Reds, you got the Pirates, you got the Cubs. I mean, the Cubs, like their lineup's okay, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that tough. I mean, even the Brewers. I mean, the Brewers lineup is not something that necessarily frightens you. So, you know, really nice move for him. I think the key, the BABIP has been extraordinarily high over the last 2 kind of, or 3 seasons, really. 326, 360, 378. Some of them were partial, but, you know, getting hit hard. You know, that's kind of back down to where it is normally with his career, 297. The strand rate isn't anything crazy. The home run per 9, you know, there's probably a little bit of give there. He's at 0.66, career 0.94, more recently a little bit higher than that. But again, you know, going to Busch Field, like that's a great spot, you know, hard, difficult home run park, you know, again, great defense. So I think he checks a lot of the boxes of not just a guy you want to stream. I mean, in a 12-teamer streaming, next week, like you mentioned, but as a 15-teamer, this is kind of like your quintessential solid guy where he's in 75% of the time, and in the tougher matchups, maybe you take him out. Now that he's on the Cardinals, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. You're not starting him at Coors, but in a lot of scenarios, I can see you starting him in a lot of places. And he's been good against like the Dodgers and the Yankees. I think he had a good outing too, so he can pull it off.
Yep, very, very serviceable. Got the kind of guy that, as we get into September, and at least they don't expand their rosters like they used to, but you see a lot more bad pitching in September because guys are hurt. They start shutting guys down. You get these AAA guys coming up, and like when you can plug Quintana into your lineup without having to think twice, it's a very nice feeling to have. Like just to not have to worry about, like Toby mentioned earlier, he has a lot of relievers this week. It's nice when you can just go, I'm going to play Quintana this week. I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So he's one of those players, not flashy, not sexy, but really solid guy to put on your roster and not have to worry about a whole lot. Oscar Gonzalez of the Cleveland Guardians, outfielder, added in 78 leagues, as high as $88, returned from the IL this past week. He's hit safely in all 5 games since he's been brought back, barreling the ball over 15% of the time, hard hit rate around 54% of the time. He was swinging it really well, like pretty well. I'll say pretty well. Before he got hurt, he was very serviceable, and now he's back, and he's looking like he's picking up where he left off. Franmil's gone. He's DFA'd. That's Oscar's job. He's hitting 5th more often than not in that lineup. I think, especially in 15s, he's a pretty solid add in 12s. We talk about it week in and week out. There's always like a group of outfielders that get added in 12s that you can bring them, you stream them, drop them, stream them, drop them. Oscar at least looks like he might have some viability for most of the season. What do you think about Oscar Gonzalez?
Yeah, for sure. Deeper leagues, definitely. I mean, 12-teamers, he's really kind of a matchup, streamer type of guy, and this week is fine. I mean, he's got at Detroit, so he's got some good pitching matchups, but only 6 games. And then he's got, Toronto, although he's got Kikuchi and White on the weekend. So, not bad at all. Like you mentioned, I mean, batting average wise, really solid. The one concern is the plate discipline, 45.4% O swing. His walk rate is a minuscule 3.4%. I think it's been like 12 games since he walked, something like that. Ground ball rate is high at 55%, limiting the power a little bit. And I think that's going to be the real key for him. He's not giving you any speed. He's going to give you some decent batting average. He has so far 349 BABIP, but like with the pretty high, relatively high contact rate, at least for a guy who's supposed to have a little bit of power, that's good. But only 3 home runs and 150 plate appearances is a little bit disappointing. That's on pace for 12 over 600 plate appearances. Bat X only has him for 4 more home runs, for the rest of the season and 156 plate appearances. So it'll be interesting. If he gets a ton of run and it's closer to, that 200 plate appearances that he can get to, it's helpful. But in the middle of the lineup, Bat in a 15-teamer, you love it. He's playing every day. In a 12-teamer, I'd want probably the 7 games of some other outfielder.
Take the over 4 the rest of the way. I'll take the over right now. I have confidence in Oscar getting it done. He already hit 1 this past week since he came back. I think we're going to see some fun with him. So I'm going to take my chances on that one.
Cool.
All right. Wil Crowe added in 72 leagues, as high as $22. With David Bednar going to the IL. Crowe picked up a save a few games back, got a win the night after. He's been actually pretty effective overall out of the bullpen this season. Just obviously hasn't had the closer's role because Bednar's just a beast. And then he still had Stratton and De La Salle back there. But it looks like Crowe's going to get most of the run for now while Bednar's out. It's a back issue. There's no timetable for his return, but they're acting like it's not a big deal. So I don't know how long Bednar will be out. I was looking everywhere for it while I was doing FAAB today. It's Crowe's job for now, and some people bought into it. What do you got on him?
Yeah, I mean, Bednar, stay on the IL as long as you want, but just take it easy. There's nothing to play for the rest of the year. Just don't go crazy. Wil Crowe is a DC special for me.
Yep.
I'm not sure how many teams I have him on. It's like something like probably 13 or something like that, 12, 11, something like that. I really liked Wil Crowe heading into this year. As you mentioned, he's been really good. He's actually been worse recently. The overall numbers for the season, though, are solid. 57 strikeouts in 58 games, 3.09 ERA, 118 whip. He's kept that walk rate down, which has been a struggle for him in the past. And obviously being in the bullpen, it helps his stuff play up a little bit. 12.7% swinging strike, 13.6 K- walk. 33.7 O swing, and 82.9 in zone contact. So that's really good. All those numbers are worse though in his last 15. So again, he's a guy, if you added him, you're really looking for saves. I don't think the skills are anything to write home about. Over a short sample, certainly they could be, but again, I think he's better than Wick. I think he's better than Kennedy from a skills perspective. But like you mentioned, Bednar's coming back pretty soon. So you're hoping maybe to get 2-3 weeks out of Crowe. And that's what I'm hoping for. And I picked him up in a couple places.
Hey, that could almost be half the season going forward. So that's actually a pretty.
That's true.
We gotta start thinking sample size now. It's give me 3 weeks and we're almost halfway to the end of the season. That could be pretty productive. And he's one of those guys you mentioned, just overall quality. Like he's not an Andres Munoz or anything like that, but he's been very good this year. So he's one of those guys that as we get deeper into the season, like I mentioned, pitching gets worse and worse. You might just hold on to the dude and see what happens. Like just maybe backs flare back up. You might want him sitting there. So we'll that'll be something to cross down the road. But he's not the worst guy to roster. Like I'm with you. I have him in a lot of DCs. I've rostered him in 15-team leagues a couple times this year just for needs. He wasn't like my top priority, but just that active league and stuff happens. So he's been on my roster before. So we'll see how that goes going forward. Bubba Thompson, the Texas Rangers. He was a highly touted prospect at one point in time. Things haven't gone his way completely, but he's getting his shot. In the minors, he hit .303 with 13 home runs and 49 stolen bases, caught 3 times in 80 games. That's pretty good, as they say. He stole 2 bases on Friday night already. He looks like he's going to get some regular run hitting at the bottom of the Texas order. So people were flocking to Bubba Thompson that needs speed. What's your thoughts on Bubba?
Yeah, he's a guy who he's actually a really good example of how building a team is a puzzle, or I don't know. I'm always conscious. I always try to be conscious of how decisions that you make during the draft impact you later on. Bubba Thompson is a huge weakness for me because the way that I draft, I'm pitcher heavy, right? And so I'm always looking for more speed, and I'm oftentimes a little bit deficient in speed. And so what you end up doing is going after Bubba Thompsons, Josh Smith, who honestly, just for a second, I picked that guy up for steals. He literally has 0 steals in the 10 weeks that he has been on my teams. I thought this guy was supposed to be fast.
You weren't the only one. You weren't the only one, because I know a lot of people were on that page.
Hell, Josh Smith. Oh my God. Anyways, but it's Josh Smith, it's Roman Quinn, it's all these guys where you're just hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. But what they do is they just drag everything down. They drag everything down. This is how I lost. One of the ways I lost Barf. When I say that, I don't mean
hey, we're tied for third. We're tied for third right now. So
no. Last year I was in first.
This year, I was like, you haven't lost anything yet. Sammy's running away with it, but it's not over.
I think it was last year. I was in first place for a lot of it, and then my team faded down the stretch, and it was because I became obsessed with steals, and so I had all these guys that don't do anything, right? Who hit at the back of the lineup, who you're just hoping their OBPs are sub 3. You're just hoping they get on base with an opportunity to steal. And it never happens. It almost never happens, right? And so that's what Bubba Thompson is. So I tried to stay away from him because they've dragged my teams down enough. But this is all just a long-winded way of saying, when you go pitcher heavy like that, one of the things you don't think about at the time when you're drafting is just that later on, the reason why you have that weakness is because you drafted like that. And because you're always looking for those guys to help you, especially in an overall where you're like, oh my God, I'm really good at a lot of things, but I'm not good at speed. How do I make this up? And you fail. So I was not that interested in Bubba Thompson. He seems like that guy. The hardest ball he's hit out of 9 is 96 miles per hour. Will he get run? Maybe when Cole Calhoun comes back, will he be gone? Probably. Is he going to play himself out of the job? 85% chance. Is he worth $7 or whatever it is that you probably paid for him? Maybe, but I'd rather have him on my bench and see if I can kind of catch gold that way, especially against Houston pitchers. Houston pitchers are just going to destroy him. Yeah. So anyways, that's my cynical look at Bubba Thompson. And I just want to point out, Bubba, there's a lot of things I don't like about Bubba Thompson. There's one thing I love about Bubba Thompson.
His name.
And that's his first name.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've already gotten Mr. Bloomfield already attached me to Vlad Sedler's tweet about he picked up Bubba in like every league is like something like I'm relying on Bubba, and then the guild's comment on something similar. So then Ryan tagged me. He's like, it's all up to you, Bubba, no pressure. And I'm like, oh, great. Yep, great. You want me for speed. Gotcha. But similar to that vein, before we go to the next guy, just like doing a lot of my research over the weekend, I just wanted to point out, like, if you are looking for steals, and when you said this happened to you last year with steals, I remember we talked about it when, like, in the off season, so that I wanted to improve on what crushed a lot of my teams late that I was doing well in. I was chasing wins and strikeouts. Like, there's certain, because I did not go as pitcher heavy. It's like the balance, the puzzle, like you said, of putting it all together. And sometimes injuries happen. Sometimes injuries happen that screw up the whole puzzle. Like, it was a good puzzle, and then your 2-year-old comes in and eats some of the pieces, and now you can't even put the puzzle together or something. Like, things happen.
Take that kid to the doctor.
Yeah, real quick, because that can get ugly. But what I was going to say is, if you're looking for steals and you want someone that you might have a little better track record with, and he's available in a ton of leagues, because we're not going to talk about him tonight, but I noticed in a lot of waiver wires, Nicky Lopez is starting to run and play again. Just going to throw it out there to you.
He's like not last year, huh?
Not sexy at all, but since August 1st, he's already got 4 steals. He's hitting 294. He's playing every game, and he's got all kinds of flexibility. So I'm just throwing it out there. If you're looking for steals, I'd rather trust Nicky Lopez than Bubba Thompson is what I'm trying to say. So there are guys out there that at least have some track record. It's never sexy. It's always stressful. Kind of what Toby was saying, but I just want to throw that name out there. He's starting to do his Nicky Lopez thing again after basically not doing it all year and everybody just shunning him. It's happening again. So keep an eye on that one.
Hey, Bubba, what you pointed out about the puzzle pieces being eaten, that actually reminds me of something. There is a Curious George story. In the original Curious George stories, there's like an anthology. And in one of them, he eats a puzzle piece. And it's a really good... Curious George is one of the worst written anythings I've ever seen in my life. And the reason why is because there's no like cause and effect at all. There's just like this winding road that he goes on. So he eats a puzzle piece and his stomach hurts and he goes to the doctor and he's there and there's a lot of other people who are hurt. And then he meets some boy who like hurt his leg. And then he gets in the wheelchair that the kid's using, and then he rides the wheelchair, and then he knocks over the mayor and the other people that were touring the facility. And after he does that, they're like, oh my God, George, you're in trouble. But then George makes like faces, and then all the kids who are in the hospital start laughing and they're having a great time. And then they're like, George, we're going to give you the keys to the city. And you're at the end and you're just wondering, like,
where's the puzzle piece?
Dude he ate a puzzle piece. And you're like, oh, we're going to, no. I forgot a part. They go into surgery and they give him like the medicine that knocks you out. And it's just like, it's just anyways.
I
feel
like
a little bit of a tangent, but man, Curious George. It's kind of like those shows that are like, true crime. And like everything's leading towards one person. And then in the last 2 minutes, they're like, oh, but we just found this new clue and that's totally wrong. It's this person. And then they end it. And you're just like, what was the point of all this other stuff that happened?
Oh, I love it. And if it makes anybody feel better that hasn't read kids books yet, there's a lot of books like Curious George. You're reading them going, where are we going with this right now? Like, what are we doing? Mind-boggling. Kids love them. All right.
Sheryl Crow, Long and Winding Road.
There you go. You're coming full circle here. I love this. Wil Crowe, Sheryl Crow. We got it all going on here.
Oh, man. Every day is a winding road. That's how it goes.
Every day. Yeah. Bubba Thompson will make it a winding road for you. That's for sure.
For sure. I've been listening to a lot of 90s music recently, Bubba. Like 90s hits. And it is just a trip down memory lane.
Nostalgia. A bunch of nostalgia.
You remember all the lyrics. Yep. It's a lot of fun. Maybe we should have a podcast where me and you just sing to 90s music while we read Curious George.
Be our most listened to episode. I guarantee you. Speaking of 90s music, past weekend, I did not go, but I had friends go to watch Garbage And I'm just like, oh my goodness, like my young self of that. It's terrifying
Totally.
who's on tour right now. But
That's so funny. I got my hair cut today, and I was telling the hairdresser that that I was listening to 90s music, and she said, I love Garbage. She said that was like my favorite band, So that's 2 times in a single day. Garbage has come into my
If I haven't
life.
heard of them in like years, twice today. You're welcome.
We're not even talking about the NL Central either.
No, but we are talking about Yusei Kikuchi. So again, coming full circle.
Jesus.
Added in
People are still
leagues.
adding Yusei Kikuchi on their team. Holy cow.
It's a two-step week. It's a two-step week. This is what people do. Added in 66 leagues as high as $55. He's been okay his last 2 starts, but he hasn't gone past 5 innings in either one of those starts. It's been ugly, is what I would say. So I get the 2 steps. I was not playing that game. What about you?
Bubba, the year is 2032. Yusei Kikuchi has a great-looking 2-step coming up. And people are still adding him to his team. Like, what is he? What is he supposed to do for you?
Remember last time his 2-step was at Oakland and he got blown up? Yeah, I remember that very clearly.
I mean, he's awful. The lowest WHIP he's had in a full season is 1.3. The lowest ERA he's had in a full season is 4.41. It's not going to work out well for you guys. All right. I'm sorry. It may work for a few starts in a row, but he's not there. He's not there, guys.
Yeah, it's scary. So
not even going to throw any numbers at you. It's just, it's like Nick Pivetta. I was really into Nick Pivetta. I got Nick Pivetta everywhere. I'm dropping him this week. I just can't do it anymore. Even though he's got the same 2-step that Kikuchi has next week. Although he's got at Pitt and then he's got Cleveland. And I'm just like, he couldn't do it against KC. He couldn't do it against KC.
It's ugly. I'm with you. 100% with you on that
disgusting.
One.
Yeah.
Next up, we're talking about another Bubba Thompson type, but minus the power, is Jake McCarthy, picked up in 60 leagues as high as $39. Since the 22nd, about 2 weeks of action, he's got 3 stolen bases and 3 doubles while he's hitting 286.
Yeah. I mean, this is in 15 teamers. I was all over him last week. In 12 teamers, he was on one of my bid lists. This is the one schedule where I was just like drooling. I mean, the Diamondbacks have 7 games, 3 at Coors, and then 4 at home against the Pirates. I mean, and it's all right-handers. So I got Alec Thomas for $1 in a 12-teamer. He was available. He's like a $28 player this week. McCarthy's like a $16 player this week. I think these are the ones that you can exploit. The challenge is in 15 teamers. He's pretty much already gone. Yeah. Universally McCarthy. But yeah, I mean, I really liked him this week, even in a 12 teamer. I think I'd much rather have him than Oscar Gonzalez is one example. No offense to you. I know you grab Oscar Gonzalez. I think he's good, but McCarthy is like, I think this is like the type of the schedule that you can take advantage of.
No, 100%. If you're playing the schedule game, this is a great one. Like I have Alec Thomas everywhere already. I've been rolling him all year because he's just quietly just getting the job done. He's not crushing it, but his average is great. Little power, little speed. He's not hurting you at all, really. So I'm a big Alec Thomas fan, and I get it. If you're playing the schedules, I totally get it. And that's probably one of my biggest flaws is I always look at schedules, but in the end, when I make my bids, my brain is like looking for the overall season instead of just the week ahead. And that is a flaw. I 100% admit that I should probably work on making the bank for anybody. Why am I not in the schedules? That's a great question. Here's one you can take, though, that I like for the rest of the season. But if you look at his recent production, is Nick Gordon, picked up in 58 leagues as high as $51 over the last 7 games heading into Sunday, hitting .522, 5 extra base hits, including 1 homer, 2 stolen bases. And Alex Kirilloff is now out for the season. And this looks like Nick Gordon's going to get some serious run. And when he's gotten consistent run, he's been very good. It's just the consistency hasn't been there. On paper, even a Twins beat writer commented on a thread I was on that said Nick Gordon should be playing every day the rest of the way, barring something weird happening. So this is a big move. At least I like him. Maybe I'm wrong. What's your thoughts on Nick Gordon?
Yeah, he's one of these tough ones where I don't end up getting him I actually had him for a while in a few other leagues, and he just wasn't getting the playing time, so dropped him before the Kirilloff injury. But like this week, it's like it's hard to play him. Like he's got 2 games against the Dodgers, so he's only got 2 games. One's against Urias, so one's a lefty. He did play against the last lefty, but it's possible that he doesn't play against this lefty. But is he that good against lefties? I don't know. Let's see.
To be determined.
Yeah, to be determined.
I don't think there's a big enough sample size. Really, like he hasn't played enough.
Yeah, there definitely isn't. He's got a 73 WRC plus against them with a 0.012 ISO. Again, way too small of a sample to make any determinations. But if you're
into that ISO,
into anything, goodness. Yeah. And really then he's got Detmers and Davidson, so 2 lefties on the weekend. The following 3 days, he's got Bubic and Lynch. So he's got 2 additional lefties for the first half of next week. And then at the back end, he's got Martin Perez is the only one we know of. So he's got 1 lefty on that weekend series as well. So it's just one of those things where you're like, I really want to have Nick Gordon. I really want to have him on my team. I think he's really good. Like everything he's doing, I mean, he's crushing it. Like, he's had a really good season. I mean, everything you want from a guy, like he's doing. Like, sorry, I was off of his regular page, but like he's hitting 284. He's only got 5 home runs and 5 steals and 254 plate appearances. So that's a little blah. Like he's not really doing anything, even though he's playing well. It's
inconsistent playing appearance. Like, so that's why it kind of you can't get in a groove. So it's tough to judge that for me.
Oh yeah, totally. Not a criticism of him. Just like there just hasn't been a lot that's come with the good production or like the good playing that he's got. He's got a 370 BABIP, but like, he's making contact 74.7%. He's got 20 barrels and only 5 home runs. So been very unlucky there. Max EV is around 111. Barrel rate's 11.6%. And again, this is close to 300 plate appearances we're talking about. So like, I legitimately think he's a good player, and I'll probably try to get him in a lot of places next year, but I just don't see him being in my lineup for the next 2 weeks unless something changes. And so it's really hard to put in an aggressive bid, even though you like him, if he's not going to be in your lineup for 2 weeks, because things can change dramatically.
And that's why Toby's a very good ball player, a very good fantasy ball player.
Well, so, I also miss out sometimes, like all these guys.
Yeah, we'll see. If he starts playing versus lefties, I'm going to be very excited about this. But there's a lot of what ifs at this point in time, so I'll have to kind of see how that one plays out. But another guy, if you're looking for speed, I kind of like him over Bubba Thompson. So it's one of those scenarios when we're kind of going full circle on all these ad drops. Speaking of ad drops, Toby, let's review our week in FAAB. So why don't you pull up your old sheet there and let's rock and roll.
There was a lot of moves, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of moves this week. I don't know if everybody's ready for this. Holy cow. All right. Added Elahuris Montero, dropped Matt Vierling. Vierling's only hitting against lefties with Brandon Marsh there, which is really sad, honestly, because Vierling was starting to put it together. He had a 3-run homer in his one start over the weekend. Just a little bit of a bummer. Bid of $33, runner-up of 22. I was a little confused. I got Montero everywhere. Like, I was into him, but I didn't see anybody talking about him. He's played the last 6 games for the Rockies, DHing. They're heading to Coors for 11 of their next 14 games. I don't see who's going to take playing time away from him necessarily. This is the Rockies, so you never know. But theoretically, they want to see what they've got out of this guy. Even if Bryant comes back from the IL, Jonathan Daza is the one who's playing the outfield. So theoretically, Bryant could replace him. There's always your Hilliards and your Hampsons and your random guys like that. But I don't know if that is going to happen. And so, I went with Montero. This is a long spiel on Montero. I probably should have. I honestly didn't dig that deep because he's on Colorado. He is striking out 40% of the time. That would have been nice to know before I put those bids in him. But he does have 4 barrels, 13.3% barrel rate.
I love your reviews lately because it's so great. So great. I love them.
I mean, I didn't realize he had that high of a strikeout rate.
Last week, like,
but
was just pure depression. Now they're going, oh no, this is entertainment.
well,
I'm telling you,
he doesn't strike out a lot regularly. Bat X has him projected for 25.5%. So he's not going to have a 414 BABIP, but I do like him. He's like a $10 player according to the Razzball Monday through Thursday. So I liked him. Let me get this thing again. Lars Nootbaar, $23 bid, backup of 5, dropping Bobby Dahlbeck. Nootbaar is another one that was a little confusing to me because I didn't hear that many people talking about him. If you look at his 15-game rolling average, good God, Bubba, it's beautiful. The O swing is way down. The ground ball rate's way down. The hard hit rate's way up. The contact is way up. Like everything that you want to see in that, he's doing. He did hit against the last lefty. Juan Yepes is coming back at least sometime soon. And I think they made a change recently, at least RotoWire, maybe in the grid for this week. But Nootbaar goes to Coors for 3, 2 righties, 1 lefty. So theoretically, he gets 2 or 3 games. And then, or no, sorry. Yeah. And then he is, I think the Brewers have 2 lefties going on the weekend. And so that's the only thing. They have Lauer and Ashby. So if Nootbaar continues, then I think if he continues to hit against lefties, then he might get those. If he doesn't, then, well, those are tough pitchers generally. So, I'll throw somebody else in the outfield. Anyways, that was a long rambling thing about how you all should have been in on Lars Nootbaar and weren't. Added Wander Franco, dropped Jorge Soler. Batting average, my batting average in leagues probably over the last month is 146, I would say, across all my leagues. So Franco, I think he's scheduled to come back like around 2 weeks from now. So I'm hoping that happens. Soler is a little bit tough to give up on now, but he just hasn't been right this whole season. And I haven't seen any updates since he went on the IL with that back. And so, yeah, that I think is what is going on. Bubba, did you just disappear? Did you? Are you there? Oh, my mic went out? Oh, my God. Back. Bubba, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Nothing. Bubba, can you talk? Oh, maybe Bubba just disappeared. So maybe it's Bubba. Can you hear me now, Bubba? He's there. But maybe I should leave and come back. Hello, can you hear me, Bubba?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can. Look at that.
Yeah, we're back.
And just like that, we're back. Where did I lose?
Yeah.
Where'd you lose me?
In the middle of Nootbaar.
Oh man, there's nothing worse than the middle of Nootbaar. Like that's really where it's delicious. So the long story for Nootbaar, he's been playing really well from a skills perspective. Not really showing up on the results as much, but that could turn around quickly. And he has been playing against lefties and righties, so maybe he plays against lefties this week. We shall see. Added Wander Franco, $12, dropped Jorge Soler. The Wander, I'm hoping he helps my batting average. Soler's tough to give up on, but it's just been a rough year. Added Jose Barrero. He's got 4 games. There are a little bit of tough matchups. I needed a middle infielder on this team. Dropped Jake Lamb. Added Ian Kennedy. Dropped Adrian Sampson. Added Wil Crowe. Dropped Dylan Floro. So that's league number 1. Sorry for all the bids that are going on here. Added Rowan Wick, $46, runner-up of 35. Dropped Nick Pivetta. Added Elahuris Montero, dropped Bobby Dahlbeck, bid of $34, runner-up of $9. Lars Nootbaar added $13, dropped Matt Vierling, $9 backup there. Can you still hear me, Bubba? Just checking.
Yep, we're
okay,
good.
Cool. Next, Elahuris. These are all 15-teamers. Elahuris Montero dropped Josh Smith, $29, runner-up of 22. Added Lars Nootbaar, dropped Matt Vierling, $19 bid, 7 runner-up. Added Evan Longoria, who's supposed to be activated tomorrow, dropped Bobby Dahlbeck, $4. Added Eric Swanson, dropped Lou Trevino. Very curious to see what happens with Eric Swanson. He's got 3 saves already. He's been absolutely brilliant. He got their last save. He had pitched 2 games in a row, so he didn't pitch today, and Sewell got it. But I'm curious to see if Swanson factors in a little bit more there with the saves, because he's been really great skills-wise. Added AJ Puck, dropped Nick Pivetta. Added Zach Jackson, dropped Nick Martinez. So just trying to strike it lucky with closers there. And also I need a ton of pitchers because my pitchers have really bad matchups. Next one, added Rowan Wick, $57, runner-up of 23, dropped Scott Efros. Elahuris Montero dropped Bobby Dahlbeck, $36, a backup bid of 3. Added Ian Kennedy, dropped Anthony Bass, bid of 26, runner-up of 21. Added Lars Nootbaar, dropped Trace Thompson, bid of 17, runner-up of 13. Added Eric Swanson, dropped Ross Stripling, bid of 4, backup of 1. Added Zach Jackson, $2, backup of 1, dropped Gavin Sheets. Now we go to an OC. This is a 12-teamer. Added Jonathan Hernandez, $27, backup of 3, dropped Lou Trevino. Added Aroldis Chapman, dropped Justin Turner, bid of 27, runner-up of 6. Added Elahuris Montero, bid of 3, dropped Ramon Urias, no backup bid, and then added Alec Thomas for $1, dropped Jonathan Scope. And then last one, because Barf will not have run yet, although it runs in 6 minutes. So Go change your bids quickly. Added Rowan Wick for $77. I don't even know what I was doing here. Runner-up of 2, dropped Jake Lamb. Added Elahuris Montero, dropped Joe Adele, bid of 33, runner-up of 2. Added Wil Crowe, dropped Chase Thompson, bid of 17, backup of 1. Added Eric Swanson, dropped Bobby Dahlbeck, bid of 7, 0 backup. I mean, honestly, like this is TGFBI, so I feel like I don't need that much money to like.
Don't worry about that
really one. Really be that competitive. Although it's a very competitive league. I'm in second right now, but those are all my teams.
All right, kicking it off with my first of 4 OCs. Added Jose Quintana, dropped Ross Stripling 8-7. Added Derek Hall, dropped Hyesung Kim 6-3. Added Candelario, dropped Eric Hosmer 6-0. Added Nick Gordon, dropped JT Brubaker 6-3. Added Mitch White, dropped Lou Trevino 4-0. Added Andres Munoz, dropped Yeri De Los Santos 4-0. So a lot of little things there. Next OC, added Jose Quintana. Oh, no, that's that OC. Added Jose Quintana, dropped Taylor Rogers 7-3. Added Justin Steele, dropped Sir Anthony Dominguez 6-0. I like Steele a lot. I told Toby earlier. A decent matchup this week, and a nice 2-step the following week. He's been very effective of late, so I was pretty pumped on him. Added added Oscar Gonzalez, dropped Alex Kirilloff 5-0. Added Yadiel Hernandez, dropped Nick Senzel 5-0. Added Peter Fairbanks, dropped Pavetta 4-3. All right, next OC here. Added Justin Steele, dropped Ross Stripling 7-0. This is the OC that no one does any bidding on. But there's more bids this week, just not a lot of backups. Added Nicky Lopez, dropped Jonathan Cope 6-0. Added Tyler Naquin, dropped Alex Kirilloff 4-0. Added Mitch White, dropped Garrett Whitlock 3-0. Next OC, the final OC of the 4. Added, I did get Rowan Wick in one. Got Rowan Wick, dropped JT Brubaker 13-4. Added Nicky Lopez, dropped Derek Hosmer 9-3. Added Yadiel Hernandez, dropped Jonathan Scope 9-0. Added Andres Munoz, dropped Mark Melanson 7-0. OCQ. Added Edward Cabrera, dropped Garrett Whitlock 9-6. Added Jonathan Hernandez, dropped Taylor Rogers 9-0. Added Jose Quintana, dropped Rafael Iglesias 8-0. Added Yadiel Hernandez, dropped Nick Senzel. Added Oscar Gonzalez, dropped Cody Bellinger after he hit 2 home runs. That was fun, but I can't Cody Bellinger. Enjoy your 2 home runs.
Especially your heart's not in it,
No, can't do it. And then my other OCQ, added Jose Quintana, dropped Lou Trevino 12-8. Added Jonathan Hernandez, dropped Mark Melanson 12-12. Added Yadiel Hernandez, dropped Alex Kirilloff. Added Oscar Gonzalez, dropped Christopher Morel. Added Peter Fairbanks, dropped Taylor Rogers. Added Nicky Lopez, dropped Nick Pavetta. So, yeah, a lot of similar players. Barf, like you said, has not run yet. TGFBI, last one I got here. TGFBI. Oh, I got another Rowan Wick share. I got two.
Holy cow. Rowan Wick
Wick
everywhere.
Yeah, dropped Glenn Otto 13-9. So no break of bank for Wick in this world, though. Added Yadiel Hernandez, dropped Robbie Grossman. Added Oscar Gonzalez, dropped Garrett Hampson, which with Coors on tap might have been a dumb move, but we'll see. Added Victor Caratini, dropped Omar Narvaez because that's the world we live in. Added Mitch White, dropped JT Brewbreaker. So, yeah, so much fun. So much fun and things in the world of FAAB these days. A lot of similar players, lots of just cleaning house and restart and like cleaning house again next week. It's going to be that time of the year as we just keep going back and forth and back and forth. All right, let's talk listener questions. And we got one for the week. One. I know it's Sunday night. You guys weren't ready for it. I get it. Joe G, he says he needs a streamer for a locked-in win for this week. Aaron Savali is coming off the IL versus Detroit. James Caprillion versus the Angels. Or Ryan Pepio versus Minnesota. I don't mind Savali. I actually had a lot of bids in on Savali. I didn't get him anywhere, but I think he's at least quasi-viable. What about you?
What were the options? Savali
against Detroit, Pepio versus Minnesota, Caprillion versus the Angels, or if you have someone else that you can throw out there.
I would Caprillion. I was just trying to see Razball, what the player rater had them down for.
I like the idea of Savali. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I would say I think Savali and Caprillion are pretty similar. I'd steer clear of Pepio. I don't know if has he gone 5 innings in any of the times he's played in the majors. Let me see really quickly.
Yeah, I'm pulling him up. I don't think so, honestly.
3, 4, 4.1, and then 5.
5 in his last start.
Yeah, he did get a win, and he's pitched pretty well. So I guess it's just depends. And he is scheduled to pitch, I think.
Yeah, against Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't have him on there. RotoWire has A. Jackson. I don't even know who that is.
He's A. Jackson, obviously. A. Jackson.
He's obviously A. Jackson. But yeah, I mean, I think Caprillion and Savali are pretty similar. I would probably lean towards Savali just because the win is more likely, although he's also coming off the IL, so you're just not sure how deep he's going to go. Other matchups. Let's take a look at the Miami Marlins.
Yep,
so we got Wheeler's going against him, Syndergaard, Gibson. So I'd take Gibson probably for sure. We got Fried, Odorizzi, Anderson, and Strider. This was maybe pre-Anderson getting sent down. So maybe Odorizzi if he's available. I don't know what size league this is. The other team I would look at is the Pirates. You have Gallen, Henry, Bumgarner, Kelly, Rodon, Webb, and Woods. So maybe Mad Bum, but
I'd say go to Washington and get Justin Steele. That's my 2 cents. I'm biased, but I don't like Washington at all.
Justin Steele, no, totally. I mean, Keegan Thompson too.
Yep, I like Keegan Thompson a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then, I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, those are the terrible offenses, really. Sammy Watkins, you mentioned, or it's not Sammy Watkins, Spencer Watkins. He's pitched decently recently.
You doing fancy football practice right now on me?
Maybe. Watkins? Maybe. Holy cow. Who drafts him? Yeah. I mean, Tampa Bay can be pretty bad sometimes offensively. So you could go Spencer Watkins right there. What I generally, let me just see. For Cleveland, is it at Cleveland or is it at Detroit?
They just don't strike out a ton.
It's at Detroit. And then the other one that we were looking at is Caprillion. I might lean Caprillion because although he's up against Ohtani.
That's tough.
That's probably a no. That's going to be a no.
At least Savali's up against Hutchinson.
Yeah, I'd say Savali seems like a good enough bet.
That's right. That's where I put my fag. But I'm a big Justin Steele fan. But I'm biased, like I said. I've dug in. I've been using him a lot in DFS lately. I've been watching the kind of progression he's making. He will have a blow up from time to time. It will happen, but overall, he's shown some very good development of late. And he's got Washington this week, Washington next week, and Milwaukee. Milwaukee could be tricky, but two-step next week, back-to-back Washington starts. I like my chances with Mr. Steele. All right, Toby, that'll wrap us up on a Sunday night. Any final thoughts as we head into another week of action?
Yeah, one thing, Bubba. I think Barf has run since we.
Oh, let's see what we got.
We can
here.
see what happened. Bet you $10 I got Lars Nootbaar.
I didn't bid on him, so you.
Oh my god! Oh my
Someone
god!
outbid you on him?
No.
Oh, but no runner-up.
Lars Nootbaar dropped Trace Thompson, $17, no runner-up. Wil Crowe dropped Nick Pivetta, $17, $7. Elihuris Montero adds $17. Dropped Yandy Diaz, nothing. Kevin Newman added for 7, dropped Schwindel, nothing. No back. $7 worth of backup bids on all that.
I got Quintana, dropped David Peterson 21-12. I got Raimel Tapia, dropped Robbie Grossman 16-0. That kind of stings, but Raimel's playing every day right now. Nick Gordon dropped AJ Pollock 12-1. So we'll see how that plays out. I can't do AJ Pollock anymore. I'll probably regret it. 15-teamer I was debate, but I just can't. He's just inconsistently bad. So yeah, fun fab and barf as usual. Sammy Reed got Ian Kennedy. That should make everybody feel better. He's running away with this league.
Oh man,
he's got that going for him. But he also added Juan Yepes, so he's going up against your Nootbaar.
Man,
he's challenging you.
Sammy, Nootbaar is going to get me to the top. He's going to get me to the top. Your Yepes is going to bring you down.
Beautiful.
Bring you down.
All right. Any final thoughts for the week?
Nope, not really. Just hope everything goes well. We're all just rolling the dice at this point.
Yep. Just hope your guys stay healthy, don't get blown up, and you put some strong hitting days together. That's the best way I could say it. And what's most tilting now is because, we still have 2 months. There's still time, and we're not going to say there's not, but it's even more tilting now when the guys on the bench do good because you're like, I really need those right now. I really needed those. So just lock it in and walk away is what I can say right now. See how it goes. But as usual, we'll be back with you guys next week to recap FAAB. Check out Toby on Twitter @BatFlipCrazy. I am @BDintric. And until next time, catch you guys later.